Church, in the words of Shaeeda Mama, don't rush the broom now. Don't rush the broom. Wait and see. Observe, okay? If he act lazy and he ain't doing nothing, jump on the next plane and bring your backside home. Best advice yet. I got my notes. I hope y'all got yours. Let's get on into this damn mess. All right, y'all, so let's get started. Now, listen, I thought we would meet the last two couples this episode, but apparently they're going to drag it out into one more episode to meet the last one. So we met one of two of the last two couples. So let's get started talking about Ariela and Biniyam, who I'm just going to call Binny for short. Now, as a reminder, our rubric from last time for new people, we just want to analyze their background, their lifestyle compatibility, their ecosystem, which is composed of friends, parents, and family, as well as their outlook as a couple, right? So in terms of Ariela and Binny, she's Italian American and he's Ethiopian. They have one child together, but we find out in the episode that he has another child and an ex-wife, right? Which to me already creates a pressure point just going in terms of, you know, him not having a good relationship with this ex-wife and the ex-wife pretty much jumping up, taking the baby and going back to America because we find out that she's American as well. Now he seems to have this second American woman, this second child, and we're trying to figure out whether or not history will repeat itself, right? He cares for his children, which, you know, you're supposed to care for your children. But, you know, the scene where they were going back to America for the child's surgery and he just kept going back and forth with all this emotion in terms of not wanting them to leave, being scared that they wouldn't come back. You can literally see the pressure point developing or the pressure point already in flux in terms of him feeling on the outside of a situation that could potentially not include him going forward, right? Now, in terms of their lifestyle and compatibility, she seems to work in her father's business when she's in America. When she's not, I guess they might be funneling her money. I'm not sure. And in terms of him, he seems to be like a jack of all trades, kind of like a trainer, singer, dancer type person, right? No real one job. He just does a lot of different things. I don't know if that's going to be applicable to when he moves over to America, but we shall see. Now, in terms of their ecosystem, both of them seem to have very supportive families. Hers just comes across as nicer. I mean, we only really saw them for maybe a minute to 3 minutes during the episode, so it's hard to get a gauge in terms of a whole character arc or a whole personality trait dissection from such a small meeting. But just from the outside looking in, her family seems a bit nicer, more prone to constructive criticism. His seems more aggressive, right? And that's not a knock of the black women or the black family being more aggressive. It's just, I feel like their aggression in the situation is kind of twofold, right? So if you think about it, they are in protective mode over their brother Binny, right? The two sisters, in terms of how they feel about him. So on one hand, right, they've already seen this story before, right? In terms of Binny finding an American woman, having a child, and the woman picking up the child, going to America, never to be seen from again, never to have a good relationship with them again. So they're already kind of on the fence with this new woman coming in and wondering if she's just going to be the next iteration of what they've already known before, right? Secondly, in terms of their aggression, she doesn't really do herself any favors in terms of her attitudes towards them. But in reality, people's opinions of their, brothers or their sisters or their siblings, significant others can sometimes be shaped by what we tell them, right? And so if you think about it, if Binny is spending this time telling his sisters about all the trials, tribulations, the stress, struggles, and strife that he goes through in terms of the relationship with this woman, then unfortunately, sometimes what we can do is we can create our own issues, right? So whereas maybe Ariela and Binny have moved on to the next, juncture in their relationship, they've gotten past this struggle and now they're on to the next. Unfortunately, sometimes when we tell our friends, when we tell our siblings, problems in our relationship, because there's no resolution on their side, they're sitting on ready when the person comes around to already be mad and already be feeling a certain way about them. There's no clean slate. There's no resolution because we're still stuck in terms of what you told us that she did last week, right? So it creates a twofold aggression on their side already coming into the situation. Now, in terms of their outlook, I know it's just our first interaction with Ariela through the screen, but honestly, she really comes across as mean and as someone who seems to know that she holds the upper hand in the relationship, right? I hope that we're just seeing like just one facet of her, and as the season goes on, a softer side comes out, but she seems very mean, very aggressive, very assertive. She talks over him, she talks at him, and he kind of takes like a subservient role to whatever she pretty much says. And, you can read into that. Maybe he's just non-combative or he just tries to go along to get along. But it does seem like she tries to be the alpha in the situation, right? And in terms of him, it really seems that his love for his child drives his affection for Ariela, right? I could be misreading it, but just from this first episode, in terms of us seeing their interaction, it really seems that his dependency on wanting to be around his child makes him deal with whatever Ariela brings towards him, right? I think it was very pivotal when he was talking to his friends and he said, even if I did not love her, I would follow her to America. So what that reads to me is, I've already lost an ex-wife in terms of her picking up my child and leaving. I refuse to leave or to lose this situation in the same manner, right? So even if I don't love her, even if we have problems, even if I don't have the story all figured out, I'm going to follow her because I'm following my child, right? So, they throw around this whole love word, I love you, you, but in reality, I'm wondering if that's just something to placate her so he can get what he wants in terms of being around his child and being a father. So interesting dynamic there. Now let's just dissect this family altercation, right? Now, in an altercation, I always try to see, how did we end up here? How do we end up with the sisters being mad, the drinks being thrown in the face, people feeling a certain way? And truthfully, this whole altercation is Benny's fault, okay? It all ties back to him. Because we find out in the episode, he kind of, he's non-confrontational. He does not like to make people angry. He only wants to make them happy, right? And so you had 3 days, and perhaps even more in terms of when you knew your K-1 visa was approved and when you would be leaving. You had multiple interactions, multiple times in order to tell your sisters, your family, your friends that you were leaving, right? But what he chooses to do is wait until the night before when he's having this music video premiere. I'm going to try to make them happy, and then I'm going to deliver them the bad news that I'm leaving, right? And to me, the situation was all of his creation, right? If you wait so long to tell people bad news, and then you tell them the bad news, and the perceived source of the bad news is there in terms of your sisters already feeling a certain way about the woman that you choose to love, the woman who is the mother of your child, you kind of set her up to be the bad guy in the scenario, right? And I don't know if that was intentional or just as a direct result of you being non-confrontational, right? Now, don't get me wrong. Ariela did not do herself any favors in the situation by popping off at the mouth, okay? She really didn't, okay? When you have two people in a situation, you can't both be rah, 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 because all it's going to do is just escalate, and we saw the natural conclusion in terms of what happened. Now, do I think it was right for the sisters to throw the drink in her face? Absolutely not. To me, on the levels of disrespect, number one is spitting in my face. If you spit in my face, there's no conversation after that. We're pretty much done at that point. But a very strong second is throwing a drink in my face. That's one of the ultimate shows of disrespect. It's very love and hip hop based in terms of I'm gonna throw this drink in your face. It's kind of telling somebody that you have no respect for them, okay? And nothing that they say is of value, right? So you're pretty much putting them in a kind of punk position. I'm going to punk you. I'm going to show that I'm superior. And it's a really, really horrible thing to do, right? But as I said before, the whole situation was Benny's creation, right? Because the sisters are programmed to protect him, which means that they cannot be mad at him entirely when they feel that Ariela is the source of all the dysfunction right there, okay? So to me, the way to fix that whole situation was for Ariela to not have even been there. Truthfully, you should have told them days before, right? It should have been a sit-down conversation with your two sisters and you. Ariela shouldn't have been anywhere in the damn building, right? But if we're going to remedy the situation as it stands, after the music video premiere, Ariela should have left, okay? She should have gone back to the nanny, gone back to the hotel, and you should have had a conversation with your friends and your sisters and gone from there. So, truth be told, the whole situation is a Binny's creation, and, you know, I hope that this is not a kind of foreshadowing of horrible events to come in terms of Binny being so non-confrontational that he kind of puts his fiance in the line of fire to be the person that's between him and his family as a buffer. But unfortunately, when you're dealing with somebody who's non-confrontational, these things tend to happen. So, like I said, drop down in the comments, y'all, and let me know whose fault you think the altercation was. But I truthfully believe that Binny's lack of trying to remedy the situation or trying to be the good guy in the situation pretty much got Ariela a drink thrown in her face. Moving forward, let's move to our general updates from the couples that we already know. So let's talk about Bilal and Shaeeda. And I hope I'm saying that right this time. Shaeeda. I keep trying to remember. Shy. She's shy, Shaeeda. Bilal and Shaeeda. Okay. So let's talk about this mom's advice, y'all. And so I said it pretty much in the intro, but it really rings true. I think Shaeeda's mom was so insightful in terms of what she said, right? You know, Shaeeda is pretty much up in arms. She thinks that, you know, Bilal's childhood home is the house that she's going to occupy in America, and she's feeling a certain way about it, right? And she calls her mom, and her mom pretty much tells her, listen, don't view that man based on his current circumstances, okay? Because that can just be temporary. As a wife, you either come into one of two scenarios most of the time. Either the man is already established and you pretty much come into to the riches that he has developed and you are just a plug and play type wife situation, right? Or, you know, you come into a situation where you have to help that man build, right? And you're pretty much building a life together, building a family together, getting to a higher plane of success together, right? And so what the mom is saying is, if that man shows initiative and if he shows ambition, stick with him, okay? Because as his wife, it's your job to support him in that if he's working towards a goal, right? But if he's lazy, he's not doing anything, and he's more than happy to just stay at whatever plane of life that he is at, then you need to leave him, get on a plane, and come back home. Very, very good advice, very insightful advice. And I think it helped her to look at the situation with her and Bilal just a bit differently, right? Now, in terms of Shaeeda's apology to Bilal, I thought it came at the perfect time, right? Listen, this lady traveled from Trinidad and Tobago to Kansas City, Missouri. She had a very, very long day. What she thought her life was going to be set up as wasn't the case when she got there, right? So I can excuse her feeling a certain way about the situation. What I liked about her apology is that it came the morning after, but it came while they were still in the dilapidated house. I love the way she speaks in terms of when she said dilapidated, I was on the floor. But it came at the same house. To me, it would have hit different if she waited until the nice house to apologize, because you're only apologizing because you know what you have now, right? But to me, if you woke up the next morning, you're still in the same circumstance, you're still in the same house, and you said, you know, I might have overreacted based on where, you know, I thought I was going to be, but I see the situation a little bit more clearly. I'm willing to work with you on this, and I apologize for making you feel a certain way, right? I think that that was a very well-timed apology, and I salute her for making it. And I think that it put Bilal at a little bit more of ease in terms of the situation, right? Now, in terms of the house reveal, no real story there. I mean, she seemed very happy with it, as well she should be. From the yoga room to the beautiful house, the car, the whole ambiance of the thing, the way that you can just smell money by walking inside, she was very excited. This is what she wanted. Does it seem disingenuous in terms of her reaction to this house versus the first house? I mean, yes and no. Okay, if you're expecting a certain kind of lifestyle and you're pretty much confronted with the literal antithesis of that, you're going to feel a certain way. And if you finally get to what you always knew that you wanted, you're going to be happy, okay? So listen, she's damned if she does and damned if she doesn't. So I'm glad that she was appreciative of this new life in terms of the life that he actually had for her. And I hope that, this just doesn't create a situation where Bilal constantly feels the need to test her, create these pranks, and create these games, because that's going to create distrust on both sides. He's going to be feeling like she's only there for the money, and she's going to always constantly have to feel like she's on ready in terms of what is he going to try to test me with today? Why can't I feel comfortable in our relationship and how we are? What's coming around the corner, right? And I know it may be a little bit too hasty in terms to talk about prenup, but I think on both sides, a prenup wouldn't be a dirty word, right? I think we kind of have to change our mindset, going forward in terms of what a prenup is and what it actually entails, right? And a prenup simply states that whatever we came into the marriage with is our separate property, right? It's protected, right? But whatever we build together as a couple, whatever we accomplish together from this day forward from our marriage, we split down the middle. To me, that's a very safe way to put it, okay? If Bilal is afraid that, a woman is going to come in and try to take all the riches that he's accumulated, that protects that. For Shaeeda, he's only going to be doing better and better and better. I don't see him being a person that's just going to be, happy staying at the same level. So clearly he's going to build, and it gives her the knowledge that, whatever I help this man build, whatever I'm a partner in, I'm going to share in the riches, in the event that this ends in a dissolution of marriage. So prenup is not a bad word all the time, and as long as it's fair on both sides, it may be a conversation that you all will need to have maybe closer to that 90-day time period for everybody to feel secure. Now on to Jibri and Miona, y'all. So let's talk about this whole family sit down. Now listen, last time we talked about Miona getting to America in terms of, me being happy with Miona, in terms of Miona always keeping it 100, okay? I like people who state what their intentions are from the beginning and they stay consistent, okay? So Miona got off that damn plane. Even before she got off the plane, she said, I want to get to California. I am young. I am happening. I want that kind of lifestyle. I do not see myself in South Dakota. If I don't get to California, I'm out. I can go back to Serbia, right? So I respect the hell out of her for that. Is it the best mindset to have in terms of collaborative relationship? No, but I've set my limits from the beginning, and it's your job to decide what you want to do in terms of what I said off of that, right? That it's Jibri's decision to decide in terms of what she said, how he's going to act off of that, right? So this episode, we see Miona and Jibri sit down, with the family just to chop it up in terms of after she got to America, after she got to the house, and to kind of get some ground rules set. Now, I kind of feel half and half in terms of how the conversation went, right? On one hand, I understand the mother and the stepfather trying to get, the house rules out on Front Street from the beginning. If you get the rules out in the beginning, there's no sort of ambiguity going forward in terms of, can I do this? Can I do that? Is this a rule? Is that not a rule? Like, get what you want and how you want your house to be governed out on Front Street, and you're good to go. So I had no problems with that. I think, the first night, I expect you guys to, keep my house clean, not do anything crazy, be responsible for making 2 meals out of the week. I don't think that that's anything really out of the stretch of imagination for, a household to survive in terms of them essentially taking care of y'all for this next 3 months and potentially for the next 9. I don't think it was anything crazy that they were asking. However, where I think they messed up a bit in terms of the mom is trying to get a full sign and a full view of what her intentions were as far as work, as far as career, as far as their life together, right? To me, it was a case of too much too soon, right? If you're really honest in the situation, right? Miona and her life's intentions as far as career, starting a business, and whatever else she sees for her life in the next, year, 2 years, 3 years, it's kind of a non-factor the first day that she steps off the plane, if you think about it. To be completely honest, for the next 3 months, okay, her livelihood comes from Jibri, and through that, you as the parents, okay? Because mama can't work for the first 3 months, okay? If she gets married to your son, then she can't work for 6 months afterwards. So for the next 9 months, work is not even something that should even be in the forefront of a conversation on the first day, okay? Too much, too soon. And I think it's kind of like information overload in terms of, flying from Serbia to America, dealing with the things in your head in terms of wanting to be in California, you end up in South Dakota. This is your life here. It's kind of like a sparse city versus the metropolitan area that you wanted. You're in your new fiance's house. You have to go through these new rules, and now you have these people grilling you about your life's work and your life's intentions. Too much, too soon. So, I'm okay with her, in terms of the mom trying to tell them the ground rules for the house. But as far as the damn, life plan for Jibri and Miona, that could wait until maybe the third day or perhaps, next week. Like, let that girl get settled. Don't pepper her with questions. And I think it would help that relationship go over a bit better, to be completely honest. Now, moving on to Emily and Kobe. Let's talk about just the notion of Coben or hotel. So last time I kind of alluded to my feelings with it in terms of him really being there to see his child, right? So if they can recapture the magic that they had in China, the relationship will survive. If not, and if, the people that they are today aren't conducive to the people that they were 2 years ago in terms of the magic that they had, the relationship won't survive, right? So I say all that to say this. I think that Emily's decision to take Kobe to the hotel was right in a roundabout way, right? If you think about it, if she took him to meet Coben the first day, the next thing out his mouth could have potentially been, oh, I just met my son and the first thing you want me to do is to leave him and go to a hotel with you. Like, to me, that would have been the natural conclusion of that conversation. So although I think that, it was kind of wrong for her to kind of do a bait and switch in terms of not talking to him before, I think she made the right decision in the grand scheme of things. I just wish that it was a more collaborative decision, and it was also one that was better communicated, right? Because if they had a talk beforehand in terms of, this is my plan for when you get here, this is what I'm thinking we're going to do first, this is what I'm thinking we're going to do next, I think it would have gone over better than the gimme gotcha in terms of you getting in the car thinking you're going to see your son, and I'm trying to tootsie roll you off to the damn hotel in order to get me some yum yum down to the bed, okay? A little bit of bait and switch, but I understand what she did in a roundabout fashion, right? Now on to the notion of too much too soon and her talking about this real ring. Y'all, I think there's just something going on in terms of these couples trying to get into these really, really heavy conversations, or these really, really deep convos that don't necessarily need to be done on your first day off the plane. I think it's like a widespread issue in terms of all the couples, in some respects and in some areas, right? So they get down to the restaurant in terms of them leaving the airport, them driving for a bit, them getting to a restaurant and starting their date night together. And this lady, Emily, starts talking about how much money did you bring? Oh, first off, y'all, I was glad to hear that Kobe sold the business in Cameroon. So to me, that tells me that he's a little bit more invested in terms of not trying to have a life setup that does not include Emily and his child. So good move for Kobe in terms of trying to get the relationship on a better level of standing, to sell the business and try to put all your eggs in the basket of trying to make this work, right? So back to the table. She pretty much is asking him how much money he brought, how much money he has, when she's going to get her real ring. We need money to start planning for this wedding and stuff. Just as I said before with the other couples, too much, too damn soon, okay? As far as I'm concerned, a real ring is the last thing that your ass needs to be worried about right now, okay? As far as I'm concerned, if you're wearing a $100 bubble gum machine ring, what you need to do is raise that damn budget to $150, tootsie roll your ass down to Amazon and get you a big, nice, emerald cut cubic zirconia ring that looks halfway decent and halfway real, okay? And as far as this damn wedding, you need to tootsie roll your ass down to the damn justice of the peace, okay? Y'all ain't got no damn money in the grand scheme of things. She's a nanny. He might have somewhere between maybe 2,000 and, let's be generous, 2,000 and 10,000 in terms of what he carried from his homeland to America, okay? So as far as I'm concerned, if y'all did not have the benefit of staying with Emily's parents, y'all would be destitute in the damn streets, okay? So we need to focus on the most important things in terms of the situation, which is getting us to a very good level as a couple, rebuilding that bond and taking care of our child. Anything else and anything other than that, we can have a discussion on it down the road. But it was too much too soon, and it kind of is going to create a pressure point in terms of, do you really want to work on the relationship, or do you want all the accoutrements of being married in terms of the big wedding, the big ring, and all the monetary stuff? Like, let's work on the damn relationship, and we can work on all of the, the grandeur stuff and the ancillary stuff later, okay? And on to our last couple, y'all. Let's talk about Yve and Mohammed. So the first thing I want to talk about, y'all, is sort of desperation and the upper hand in terms of their relationship. So as we know, the dynamic of the Yve and Mohammed relationship is kind of the older woman, younger man dynamic. And so this is kind of a weird way to see it portrayed on the screen, because normally when you have the older woman, the younger man dynamic, the older woman is successful, she's confident, she knows who she is, and she goes forward in life on that. And the man is pretty much trying to get himself, up to a higher plane of success in life and meet her expectations. But we're kind of seeing the reverse here, right? I don't know what it is about Yve and the way she acts towards Mohammed, but it kind of reeks to me of some sort of desperation and some sort of need-based thing in terms of having him here. She does not seem, even though she fakes the funk in terms of trying to appear confident, trying to appear that she has it all together, I think that having Mohammed there is kind of, I don't know, it's showing the Achilles heel of her personality, which it seems like she really wants this man more than he wants or needs her. And so y'all drop down the comments if y'all are peeping the same thing, but it really does reek of lightweight and low-key desperation just a little bit. And in doing so, it kind of gives Mohammed the upper hand to do whatever he pleases, because she seems to want to please him in order to make this relationship work, because something is lacking in her in order for her to try to want this relationship and to prize this relationship and to see it as something that is her pinnacle and something to strive for. Now, on to something that I really wanted to talk about last time, but, I think they said Yve is about 48 and this boy is like 25, okay? My question to the situation is, for a long-standing relationship and something that can go the distance, eventually I would assume this man is going to want kids, okay? I'm not saying that Yve's eggs are powdered at this point. I'm not saying that I don't believe in miracles and immaculate conception, because if it happened one time, perhaps it could happen again, but I'm just trying to see the longevity of this situation as it relates to him eventually wanting kids down the road, right? If that's the case, are you saving your eggs? Are you thinking about a surrogate? Like, how is this relationship supposed to develop? Because granted, I understand that at 25, he's probably not thinking about kids, but in maybe 5 years when he turns 30, he probably is. And so 5 years for you, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, are you really going to be trying to be a new mom at 53 years old? I always try to develop the 20-year rule when I think about children. And so if you're 53, do you want to be the 73-year-old mother of a 20-year-old, right? You've already had your kids. You've already done that station in life. So can y'all really exist if he wants kids one day? So y'all drop down the comments and let me know if you think that this relationship will go the distance if he wants kids and you think it's possible. I'm not saying that she can't have a kid. I'm just saying I don't know in the grand scheme of things if that's what she wants to do at this stage in her life. Now, going back to what happened in terms of this episode, what I wrote down, y'all, for my last point is that he seems to want a mommy. I think what was really telling in terms of what he was saying to the camera is that his version or his viewpoint of a wife is someone that's going to love me like my mother, who's going to take care of everything, who's going to take care of me, okay? And like I've said before in prior reviews, there is nothing wrong with knowing what you want in life and how you want the makeup of your life set up, okay? But in going with that mindset, there's nothing wrong with somebody else wanting the opposite of that. To me, Yve wants a collaborative person in her life. I think she's doing all of these things for Mohammed because she feels like she needs to please him in order to get, to get here, to feel comfortable, to get acclimated. But eventually, I always say, you can only be fake for so long. And I'm not saying she's being fake. I'm just saying that you can only keep up a facade for so long. Eventually, the real you and what you really want and your real personality is going to come out. And I think we've seen glimpses of that in terms of how she interacts with her squad, her girlfriends, the way they talk. Like, she's a whole different person with them than she is with this man. And I think that eventually it's going to be a conflict between who she is at her core and who she's trying to be for Mohammed, right? Now back to Mohammed. Mohammed got mad because one of the things that he wanted was a bidet set up. Apparently in the Islamic faith, you pray 5 times a day, and in order to pray 5 times a day, you need to be completely clean, and tissues and wipes don't do the damn job. You need a bidet down to the toilet, to get you a faucet that cleans you through and through, okay? So listen, once again, we have a problem with communication. I don't care that he wants the bidet, okay? You can want what you want. But I feel that if we had a conversation and communicated in terms of what were the most important things to be done before you got here to make you feel comfortable in my home, I think the situation would have gone a bit better, right? Perhaps she could have spent, if she knew that the bidet was number 1 on his list, maybe she could have spent less time developing a desk for someone who can't work for the next 9 months if y'all stay together, right? Or laying down, rose petals in a heart shape in the bed. Perhaps she could have saved herself 10 to 15 minutes buying the roses and placing them. And perhaps she could have saved herself some time heading down to the damn jewelry shop or the pawn shop to find a king-themed ring for her king, right? So it all comes back down to communication, and it all comes down to realistic expectations, right? Because on one hand, you can't say that you're this very traditional man when you're making all of these decisions that go against your traditional faith, right? So there's going to have to be some give and take on both sides in terms of what you both expect and what you will both accept from each other and deal with, okay? So it's going to be a give and take relationship. And I truly hope that he's going to want to be a more collaborative person versus somebody who's looking for their mother to be reflected in their wife. Because listen, Yve already got a kid, okay? And I don't think had she known that she was just going to be importing another kid from Alexandria, Egypt, if she would have done the whole thing over again, but we shall see. And I think that's all I really want to say on this episode, y'all. So if you liked what I said, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on all social media at DatDamnDasher. And until next time, y'all, a closed mouth does not get fed. Don't be so afraid to lose somebody that you devalue yourself in the process. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.